Listen to this man. He got some good news for you. Hey, man, listen. Hey, everybody, gather near. The doctor's in the house, so lend him your ear. The things he can say might even make your day. He might even help your pain go away. The doctor is in the house. The doctor is in the house. Let the doctor know what's bothering you. I'm sure he can tell you just what to do. The doctor is in the house. Doctor is in the house. Let the doctor know what's bothering you. The doctor is in the house.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, the doctor is in the house. This is Dr. Ron, host of Dr. Ron, Unfiltered, Uncensored, a program that is aimed at giving you healthcare options and discussing the real effects of drugs and the influence of the pharmaceutical industry on medical care. So we're here to help you with your self-help, right? So that we're going to be a self-help podcast to help you make educated medical decisions for your health and for you to know that you have options when it comes to your medical care. That way you can be the CEO of your own body. Because we continue, as we have for the last 6 years, broadcasting the latest medical and complementary medical news. And if you subscribe to our podcast on Podbean, you'll see when we are live, which is usually at least once a week. And you can call into the program through the Podbean app. So, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you with an attitude of gratitude. And we're going to have an introduction about aging. Is it necessary? And how about we will talking about health span. So we don't want to be old and frail. We also want to be healthy as we age. We want to be young at an old age. So we'll be talking about health span also. So I want to open up by saying I was to a anti-aging conference a few years back, and we learned a lot of different strategies for staying young. At the end of the conference, however, the speaker said, if you want to stay young, you learned a lot, but I want to tell you two things you must do. That is hold on to your stairway, to the railing, and to wear your seatbelt. So if you don't hold on to the railing and you don't wear your seatbelt and you get in an accident, all these other strategies really won't matter very much. And so let's talk about falls. It looks like about 1/3 of older people who live at home fall at least once a year, and falls are the leading cause of accidental death and the 7th leading cause of all-cause deaths in people age 65 and over. And it turns out if you fall once, you're more likely to fall again. So here's what I found out from Sarah Reagan. Scientists at Shire University have developed a simple clinical test that can assess the lower limb strength of seniors, and it seems to predict their risk of falls. It doesn't require any fancy equipment. It doesn't require a trip to your doctor. All you need is an index card and your big toe. They call it the Enhanced Paper Grip Test, which involves someone pulling a small card from underneath your foot while gripping it with your big toe. If a card can be easily pulled away from the grip of the big toe, it could be a sign that you're susceptible to a life-altering fall. Now you're saying, how in the heck does this predict if I'm going to fall? Well, remember, your feet are the cornerstones of stability and movement. It's where the rubber meets the road. And big toe grip, which is also called the hallux grip force, has been strongly linked to the strength of all muscle groups of the foot and ankle and the ability to maintain balance. So if you find that you cannot hold this index card and you're having some issues with balance and stability, it's probably time to talk to your healthcare provider and do something about that. Get to a balance class. Do some strength training, excuse me. And also, it reminds me of a study that I saw about 40 years ago called the effect of the hallucis longus tendon, which is part of why you can hold this card down if you have a strong big toe. Well, it also, the hallucis longus, your big toe, also it's important for your gait. And people with weak toes have more back pain. So if you're having some back pain and some problems with stability, you might want to look into ways to make that stronger. So no matter what we talk about today, telomerase and different vitamins and supplements, it won't be any good if you fall. So we know, right, as we get older, we start seeing some saggy skin. Our vision isn't as good as it was when we were younger. And aging is spontaneous. Like Dr. Wong says, we're born to die. It is a natural process. It happens all through nature. And we can't stop it for now. We can't stop it from happening. But we can slow it up. And it comes down to the basics to start with. And it's what we talk about all the time anyway. Have a healthy, well-balanced diet with and eliminating the processed and ultra-processed foods like we talked about. Let's eat more organic if possible, fresh fruits and vegetables, because they can prevent premature aging. And our skin receives nutrients not only from what we put on it in the form of creams and facials and what have you, it also receives nutrients from the food we eat, because remember, our skin is the largest organ of our body. So it would seem to make sense that the more balanced our diet, the younger we will look. So let's try that to start looking fresher. I know the sun has been demonized, and I don't recommend you get burned, but some regular sun exposure is important for longevity. Hydration is important. It seems like the better hydrated we are, the fewer wrinkles will develop in our skin. Some people now are recommending lemonade as it is rich in vitamins and helps to flush out toxins. Applying facial moisturizer every day is quite effective in keeping that moisture in our skin. But remember our prior shows, our prior podcasts, that a lot of these moisturizers have a lot of synthetic petrochemicals in them, which can really age us. So we need to look for products that are more natural and don't have words in the ingredients that we cannot pronounce. And in almost every podcast where I'm going to recommend a program to stay well, either it's from inflammation or fibromyalgia or pain, sleeping is going to be important. And for this anti-aging episode, we're going to need our beauty rest, because our skin needs some downtime to repair itself. Right? We're really tired. Our skin gets saggy and our eyes get puffy. So we want to try and have a good sleep cycle. We want to make sure we get that bright light during the day, get rid of that blue light at night, keep our bedroom comfortable as far as the temperature goes, and quiet and dark as possible. And something I would say almost on every treatment program, you must exercise because exercise improves blood circulation and boosts our immune system. And those two things will make you appear more youthful. And it doesn't have to be at a gym, just walking 4 or 5 times a week for 30 minutes can make a huge difference in the way you look and in the way you feel. So, in the mountains of northern Pakistan, how about this? That's where you find the Hunza Valley. It's an isolated area in the Himalayas, home to a community of people said to survive longer than anyone on Earth, living well over a century. They say they have a life expectancy of 120, but it's probably averages about 100 years old. Where the average life expectancy in all of Pakistan is 67 years old. So what did they do when they studied the Hunzas? Well, it comes back to a podcast we did not too long ago that was titled Does Size Matter? And that we're talking about our telomeres. And here's where we found out that the telomere section of the DNA that's found at the end of every chromosome can help us create a long-lived biology. It might be our fountain of youth. And these telomeres allow our DNA to be reproduced without losing any of its genetic information. And it prevents our DNA, which is like a helix, is twined, from unraveling. But as our DNA keeps reproducing itself, in some instances it gets shorter and shorter and shorter from the original version. This process, ladies and gentlemen, invariably leads to aging and dis-ease. So, the telomeres, their role is to extend that replication time by adding a piece of DNA at the end of every strand that doesn't code for anything and acts as a mechanism to prevent degradation. And it prevents unwinding. And for many years, it was believed that the lifespan of an organism was directly proportional to how many times a cell can divide before losing those telomere extensions. Now, in 1960, a scientist calculated that a human could live approximately 90 years before the telomeres were lost. But in 1984, Elizabeth Blackburn, and also a scientist, made a discovery, a big discovery. She discovered an enzyme called telomerase. Now, what does telomerase do? It extends the length of the telomere. Isn't that something? So there is something that can keep that telomere from shortening and therefore increasing our lifespan. And whether that enzyme is activated or inhibited is depending upon external factors. We've had podcasts about genetics and epigenetics. Here's where the epigenetics come into play. Because you can stop that telomerase, that enzyme, by improper nutrition, domestic violence, post-traumatic stress disorders, and a lack of love of yourself and others, and a lack of gratitude and purpose. They can have a negative effect on the telomeres and therefore impact your lifespan. So how do you activate this telomerase so that your telomeres stay long? It is activated by good nutrition, especially omega-3 fatty acids, regular exercise, and a practice of gratitude and self-love, and living with a positive sense of service and purpose. So these are external factors which can affect lifespan. We need to have something to live for. Create art, solve problems. Dr. Lipton says that positive feedback is super important and can enhance the telomerase activity to extend our life. So if we have more telomerase activity, we have the ability to produce more telomeres that allow cell division to occur more frequently, resulting in a longer and healthier and happier life. So telomeres are important when we talk about lifespan. We didn't talk about taking anything yet. We just talked about lifestyle, good nutrition, exercise, self-love, and an attitude of gratitude, living life with a purpose, helping others. I just remember I did a program about Acciaroli, a town near Naples, Italy, the most centenarians per 100 people in any place in the world. The thing that trumped everything was socialization, how they got along with other people in this town. Fat people, smoking people, drinking people, all lived a long time because of this socialization. Acciaroli, most centenarians per capita because of external lifestyle modifications. So let's just, so we don't get too overburdened today, just let's talk about what the Green Med Informational Research Group says about the 5 best and worst anti-aging substances, because let's face it, we are conscious of how we age. We're conscious of how our skin and muscles and brain work. A lot of it depends, as I started the program, with what we put into our body. The health of your gut, your brain, your eyes, your muscles, even your skin, they can be improved or worsened by our diet and our lifestyle choices. And when we speak lifestyle choices, we're talking about epigenetics, which control probably, according to Dr. Jaffe, 92% of our genetic expression. So, what are considered the 5 best anti-aging substances? Well, number 1 on the list is something we've talked about over 2 podcasts, melatonin, because beside a sleep hormone, an anti-cancer hormone, maybe a protection again for eye diseases, melatonin has anti-stress properties. And it affects our immune system in a positive way. The anti-aging benefits include its ability to improve the microstructure of our bones and skin. So, there is no toxic dose that I have been able to discover. It seems like Dr. Schellenberger uses that 300 milligram dose for anybody undergoing a CAT scan to counteract the effects of the free radical damage from the radiation. I wouldn't go that high, but it's a good supplement to take at night. Curcumin has anti-aging effects too, because curcumin is an antioxidant and an anti-inflammatory. And remember, inflammation accounts for 85% of chronic diseases. So there's a certain type of inflammation that is believed to be responsible for the development of age-related disorders, and it seems that curcumin can reduce that and also reduce the risk of cognitive disorders like Alzheimer's. And I told you how I feel about coffee. It's an antioxidant. It has caffeine, that's a bioactive natural compound. And that protects against stress-related skin disease. And it may protect against age-related diseases of the brain like Alzheimer's or dementia. I told you about the study that found that drinking 3 to 5 cups of coffee each day decreased the risk of these disorders by 65%. Still has to be studied, but if you like your coffee, why not jump in? And next, grapeseed extract. This substance has a high concentration of polyphenols that have an effect on our immune system and can protect us against oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is like rust. It stresses our adrenal glands, makes us produce cortisol, which makes us age. And these polyphenols that are in grapeseed extract also inhibit the progression of atherosclerosis and diabetes. And they are two diseases, right, that we associate with aging. And we cannot forget our gut, right? And that's why we have a good diet, free of chemicals, but we need our probiotics. And what are we concerned about for aging? Most people will say, well, I don't, my skin looks old. But probiotics can work to restore the pH balance of our skin and help us with some of that aging that it took place when we were younger and abused the sun. Many degenerative diseases are related to an imbalance of what's going on in our gut. We need a wide range of microorganisms. So again, we're going to talk about diet, and a good Mediterranean type diet leads to diversity of our different bacteria in our gut and makes us resistant to infections and diseases. I'm going to throw in my favorite probiotic, which is Megaspore. It's a spore biotic that can withstand the acid and enzymes that are produced in the stomach and upper intestine. So it can get down and do its job. And just like I thought I would, I talked about a couple weeks ago, artificial sweeteners, their diet, the DIE part of it is what always upset me. We're not any thinner since we use it, are we? But they have an adverse effect on our microbiome in our gut, our second brain in our gut. And if we don't have a good microbiome in our gut, we're going to get tissue inflammation, cardiovascular disease. Even the cardiologist now, I went on a visit with a friend, and even now, for the first time in the 3 years I've been accompanying this person, the cardiologist did not talk about her being on a statin, but talked about her having her dental work done because inflammation is now the basis of the damage to our arteries, which causes the cholesterol to try and heal them. Inflammation. So if artificial sweeteners are bad, sugar is worse. And that includes fructose, ladies and gentlemen. And if you want to have a better skin repair, better looking skin, get rid of the sugar and fructose. Good, because people that have high sugar intakes have higher perceived age. They don't look as young. And if you want to lower the amount of old cells in your body and in your skin, especially the ones, the fibroblasts that reproduce, the collagen and repair. Get rid of the sugar. And aluminum. I remember as a kid, my mother cooking in aluminum pots. Well, it's not innocuous. And it's not safe in cookware and food preparation pots and pans, because prolonged exposure can increase and hasten the risk of neurodegenerative diseases and brain age disorders, including Alzheimer. So look for your aluminum in your underarm deodorants, in your antacids. Aluminum is not good for you. And we talked about, I think we did this last week or the week before, we talked about processed and ultra-processed foods and trans fatty acids. Trans fatty acids will make you old. And there's research out there that suggests if you can get them out of your system, you probably will reduce your risk of Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia. And diets low in trans fatty acids are diets such as the Mediterranean diet. And I shouldn't have to mention this, but I will. Tobacco and alcohol. Well, you've seen the ads on television with the tobacco products, right? I mean, it causes premature aging of your skin. It increases your oxidative damage. It means that's like how you rust out. And the alcohol and tobacco will decrease your absorption of the much needed antioxidant vitamins like vitamin C. So sure, you're going to affect your age and you look older. And we talked about telomeres, right? Well, one thing I didn't tell you, I think, is that it'll shorten your telomere length. And when your telomeres are gone, you're gone. You're aged, you're old. Probably there'll be a test offered soon, measuring your telomeres and predicting your mortality. And the effects of alcohol seem to get worse as we age because our livers they don't function as good as when we were 20 and 30. So we need to keep our body properly nourished with the right nutrients, lower our exposure to toxins, and not to go unnoticed is EMF, electromagnetic fields. That's why I tell you, I'm just looking at energy. Thank you for tuning in. Turn off that Wi-Fi router at night. Don't keep that phone up to your ear. Distance is your friend. Keep it away from your head. And here's a couple good, and this person is right. The coffee has a lot of benefits, and we talked about that a couple weeks ago. But it does make you poop, and you want to get rid of those toxins. So that's all important for being, trying to stay younger than you are. You want to be young at an old age. Young at an old age, right? So I just got a notice here that I'm going to be on a show tomorrow. Dr. Jerry Smith asked me to be on a show to talk about energy healing. I just wrote just a quick primer on healing energy. If you wanted a copy of it, just send me an email at docronradio@gmail.com. It's called Healing Energies and the Power of Frequencies. So I'll be talking about that tomorrow on the Dr. Smith's podcast. And, if you're looking to learn about frequencies, this is a good way to start your journey because frequencies is the medicine of tomorrow, today. It's the future of medicine, where we get rid of pharmaceutical products and we look to balance our bodies through energy healing. And they've been around, 5,000 years. It's nothing new. All this natural healing was sort of taken over by Rockefeller in the early 1900s, when he gave $100 million to do studies on why natural medicine isn't any good and why we need big pharmaceutical, petroleum-driven drugs. Anyway, we'll talk about that. And eating well is important. Eating a variety of organic fruits and vegetables. And someone just said to me, how about goji berries? Well, goji berries are reported to have anti-aging powers and having associated with people that live long. It's a sweet, sour taste, though. But they do have healthy fats and fiber and iron and vitamin C and a lot of bioactive micronutrients. So, you might want to include them. Watercress has anti-aging effects. Chia seeds. It's not a fad. They were a staple in ancient Aztec and Mayan diets. So they're not a fad. You're seeing it. And I'm not talking about the chia seed plant, you see on television growing. I'm not advertising for that. But they're nutritional dynamos. Plenty of healthy omega-3 acids in chia seeds, by the way. And you can sprinkle them on anything. We can do it on oatmeal or a smoothie. Turmeric, we don't talk enough about that. It's not just for the curry sauces in the restaurants. Because you can find it in tea and smoothies and lattes and golden milk, but it protects your telomeres. Research has demonstrated that curcumin help prevent the shortening of our telomeres. Again, that's why size matters. The longer the telomere, the longer you'll live. And of everything I'm talking about today, it's probably the telomeres are probably, as they shorten, the leading cause of aging and neurodegenerative diseases. Let me just talk about wild salmon a little bit. Everybody said, I want to eat fish. Please, Atlantic salmon is a farm-raised fish. Atlantic salmon is a copyrighted word. It does not mean it's caught free. And again, just about a month ago, we talked about farm fish are toxic. They're waste dumps. So you want to eat wild salmon if you want, if you can, not the waste dump Atlantic salmon. And the wild salmon contains lots of great anti-aging nutrients. And if you're not a fish fan, don't be afraid to eat a nice avocado. Powerhouse of superfoods, fiber, lots of anti-aging ingredients. Blueberries are on the list, but if you go to the EWG.org, Environmental Working Group, blueberries and strawberries are highly sprayed. But, their blueberries are loaded with antioxidants. Loaded. And of course, we're using coconut oil or olive oil. Also, anti-aging ingredients for our diet. Now, those of you who have been listening for a long time, I am not a big fan of beans and seeds, although they're listed in lots of lists about anti-aging, but they are many uteri. They are highly estrogenic. So a lot of people talk about the Budwig diet with flax seeds and cottage cheese. Well, that was only short-term remission. Long-term was not so good. So that's why you never read about it. Okay, so I am somewhat of a fan of pomegranates. They have lots of antioxidants. More than green tea, by the way. More than green tea. And they can protect ourselves from damage. I'll give into that one. But we need to stay hydrated. And we need to exercise. We need to have a positive attitude of gratitude. We have to have a reason for living. We have to help other people. And we can pursue these anti-aging remedies as we're doing all the lifestyle changes. And while you're on that journey, it doesn't hurt to eat some anti-aging superfoods, huh? And avoid the bad stuff, the sugar, right? Well, Energy Divine, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate that. I've been keeping the podcast a little shorter, so we just have a time to concentrate on what we've talked about. So we're going to talk about anti-aging over the next couple of weeks, and I'm going to bring in the future, which is going to be frequencies in the form of acupuncture, Reiki, quantum physics, and even a little device called the Spooky 2, and red light therapy or photobiomodulation, using a combination of red light, which is in the 660 nanometer range, all the way up to infrared, up into the 860 nanometer range for infrared. So they're using the little longer wavelengths for anti-aging effect. So let's concentrate this week to know that we don't have to, we're not limited by our genes. There is the epigenetics, the lifestyle modifications that can influence how our genes are expressed. And I know I'm going to get an email about rapamycin. Rapamycin is, there are people taking that fairly safely, but we'll talk about it. It's been called a quantum leap in life extension. Well, we'll talk about that. And ozone and moringa. Moringa has been around, and the leaves and the stems. We'll tell you how we use them all, not only just for anti-aging, but for a health span. We want to be old, but we want to be healthy. And remember, although I don't demonize coffee. I do recommend it as a highly sprayed, highly toxic bean. So you want to go organic when you can, please. But coffee has a lot of good benefits. Sometimes I think that's the only antioxidant some people get where I live down here in South Florida. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to Dr. Ron. If you download the Podbean app, you'll get a notice of when I do the live shows like today. And if you want to call in, that's fine. And I'm also on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts, and I guess just about every place but Pandora, or where you find podcasts. And if you have an idea for a show, drop me a line at docronradio@gmail.com. And I'll continue with bringing you the truth of medicine, and how between doctors and drugs, those two actually are the number one cause of death in the United States. Doctors by themselves are the third leading cause of death. But when you add the drugs in, the pharmaceuticals, and now it's the number one leading cause of death. Not a good testament to allopathic medicine. So we need to be the CEO of our own bodies and learn about options to allopaths. Now, there's no doubt, I'm not saying we don't need physicians. I am an MD. I have 2 board certifications, but we're great for trauma. We're not good for getting to the splinter, to the root cause of chronic diseases. We denied for years that mercury in fillings was toxic, but it is. We've denied aluminum is toxic, but it is. Heavy metals are toxic. The 60-some thousand chemicals in our environment are toxic. The chemtrails from the jets are toxic. We live in a toxic world, ladies and gentlemen. We have to continually eat well, detox, get rid of the toxins by sweating, which is, if you live in a warm climate, get outside and do some heavy exercise, saunas, drink, get rid of that toxins through your kidneys. Eat fiber so you get your bowels moving on a regular basis and getting rid of toxins through your bowels. Okay, well, thank you again for listening. And my good friend Freddie will take us home. Thank you so much.
Hey everybody, Dr. Ron's finished for today. I hope you got some good wisdom for what the man had to say. If it's all about good health, he's the man you got to see. He has a lot more answers for you. So tune in next week when the doctor is in the house. Or when the doctor is in the house. And let the doctor know what's bothering you. When the doctor is in the house. The doctor is in the house. Doctor is in the house. Let the doctor know what's bothering you. I'm sure he can tell you just what to do. The doctor is in the house. The doctor is in the house. Let the doctor know what's bothering you. When the doctor is in the house. So if you have a pain, call the doctor. If you have a strain, call the doctor. Let the doctor know what's bothering you. When the doctor is in the house. The doctor is in the house. See you next week.